art friends! Welcome back to Allison's Art House, where we make art with things from around the house. Today we're going to talk plastic. Not just any type of plastic, but special type of recycled plastic. I don't know if you've ever done shrink art before, but when I was little, it was one of my favorite things to do, was to take this plastic and then you color on it and you put it in the oven and then it shrinks down into this perfect little version of what you did, only really tiny. And so what I want to share with you guys is that even if you don't have that special plastic that you have to buy in a store or buy online, you can do this at home with recycled plastic from, sometimes your cookie containers have them. If it comes in a clear plastic container, you should definitely check it and see if it is and I'm going to show you this, number 6 recycled plastic. I don't think that's backwards. Anyway, there's the number right in the middle of the little recycle symbol. And that number, if it is a number 6 and it makes this sound, then it is the same type of plastic they use for shrink art. So this is what I did. I rescued this plastic from a container. I think we had a dish that was given to us that had a plastic lid on it, and I rescued it. It looked like this. I rescued it. I cut it down because you really can't shrink these edges. So I cut it down to a size that was just the flat part of it. And then I used some sandpaper and roughed it up, because you have to rough it up. And I made, just from those corners, these little earrings, and the ones I have on right now. So super fun. There's lots of things you can do with it. You can make jewelry, you can make magnets, you can make gifts for your friends or your grandparents. Sometimes you can buy the plastic and you can print on it depending on the type of plastic you get. This is some that you would get into the store, that you might get from the store or online. It's a little bit thicker than what we've got here, but it still works the same. This still works, the recycled plastic, and this way we are reusing something that would normally end up in a landfill. And we don't want anything to end up in a landfill that we can use as art at home. Okay, so I'm gonna show you this first. This is a small piece because I want you to see about what it looks like when you shrink it, like a relative size. So this is the piece that I started with. It's a 4x6 piece. And then this is what it shrunk down to be. And you can see it's a teeny tiny compared to the other. And so, and all I did with this is I colored it using color pencils. I have a variety of different kind. I used Crayola and I used Prismacolors. Now Prismacolors work best because they're a little softer, but Crayola worked well too. And I imagine if you've got color pencils at home, any of them would work. I did this little guy with, let me turn him over, with Sharpie marker and color pencils. So you can use Sharpies on these. Sometimes the Sharpies come out too bright and it's a little overwhelming and it makes it really dark. So like I did these with Sharpies and they're kind of a little dark, but I still thought they were super cute. Okay, so first step I did was I cut it down. I cut it down to a size that I could use. And so for this, I'm just going to use some scissors, and because it's plastic and it's this type of like really soft plastic, it cuts super easy. I'm just going to cut out a section in the middle. Now, whenever possible, I try to use as much as possible. I use as much of the plastic as I can, but you're going to have some scraps that you're not going to be able to use. So I cut the piece out, and then I will just say I'm going to make a raindrop. So then I will just draw my raindrop, which I just drew with pencil. Take my colored pencils and I am going to color my raindrop using my colored pencils. So get a nice layer of color on here. So I want to remind you that the first step was actually to rough it up with some sandpaper. So you want to take it and just lightly go over it. It doesn't take much to do it. The reason you do this is because if you don't, then when it shrinks up and it curls up, it sticks on itself and it won't come undone. So you definitely want to make sure that you rough it up with some sandpaper. Also, the other reason is because it gives it a tooth for it to kind of grab a hold of that color pigment, whether it's the color pencils or if you're using markers. It just gives it something to kind of catch hold of, and those colors stick better. So let me finish coloring this. Okay, so I colored it. I know it doesn't look beautiful, but it's okay. And then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut around my little raindrop. And I'm going to round off the corner because any points you have on here are going to be really, really, really pointy. And then the last thing I'm going to do, because I want to be able to hang this raindrop from something, I am going to take a hole punch and I'm just going to punch a hole in it, just like that. Now you have to punch a hole in it before you shrink it down. If you don't, then you won't be able to punch a hole in it because it not only does it shrink down a whole lot, but also it shrinks down really thick. So you can see it's a lot thicker. And so you can't really punch a hole in it once it's really thick like that. So I'm gonna put this in my oven. Now, I have to tell you, anytime you use a hot oven, please get help or ask a friend, use a hot pad. I'm using tongs because I do not want to burn myself. And I'm using a toaster oven. You can use your regular oven. It's not, you know, it works just as well. You want to preheat it or heat it to 350. And then you're going to put that in the oven, close the door, and I'm going to move this just a little bit so you can see it. I don't know if you'll be able to see. I hope you can. So watch right there. See, it's going. And it's curling up. Remember, I told you that it's going to curl up on itself, and that's why we want to make sure that we sand it first. So you let it kind of curl up, and it's going to shrink down. And this is magic. And we're watching it, and we go, oh, is it going to uncurl? Is it going to uncurl? And it is. So there it goes. I'm going to give it a second. I want it to lay flat. And once it lays flat, that's when I'm going to pull it out of the oven. It's almost there. I'm going to turn this back around. You'll get to see the magic after. Alright. And then I'm grabbing hold of the paper because I don't want to put my hand in that hot oven. I'm going to take another piece of paper and just smush it down a little bit. Close the oven, and I'm going to turn my oven off. Ding! Toast is ready. And there it is, my little bitty raindrop. Now, one of my projects this week, I wanted to see if I could make a mobile, kind of like you might see hanging over a baby's crib, or if you're familiar with Alexander Calder, he is very famous for making a bunch of mobiles. Pause right there, and I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. This is the mobile I made using shrink, using that recycled plastic. And so see, I made these little raindrops with a rainbow in the middle, and then these are clouds. Now the clouds, it took me a bit to figure out how I wanted to do that because I wanted them to be able to interlink, and so, or to lock together. So I had to be really creative with cutting it just so from top and bottom so that they would lock in together. But that's another one of those trial and error things, and art's a lot about trial and error. So there you have it. That is how to use recycled plastic to make shrink art. You can make keychains, you can make necklaces, you can make earrings, you can make magnets, all sorts of things. Sky's the limit. Literally, because I made a rainbow thing. Yeah. So, that's it for today. I am so glad that you could join me. I will see you back at Allison's Art House, where we take things from around the house and turn them into art.